And we're live. This is the intro song, intro part, intro. That's it.
Woohoo!
This channel is lo-fi, but it is high quality because look at the guest that I have. Of course, it's gonna be
Aw.
high quality. Um, Greetings, fellow humans. It is so lovely to see you here. Um, in this age of Aquarius or whatever the hell we're gonna call it. Anyways, this chat has been a long time coming. I'm surprised that I haven't have you had you. Yeah, that is correct. Long day, tired, but it was productive, and we'll talk about that. I had been meaning to have the wonderful Margaret Pinard on this channel for a long time. Good friend, good author, good human. Um, she is the author of the Remnant series. That includes The Keening, The Grasping Root, Stormrack, and Spindrift. She's also the author of Memories Hostage, Dulcie's Legacy, and Fabled Passages, and a bunch of books. And she's also the author of Orla Rafferty Seeks Her Fortune because obviously she doesn't do much, so she just wants to start another series, and she's starting another series with this one. Um, as if that's not enough, she does karaoke. She's co-chaired the Author to Writing Conference on at least 2 years, which I've been fortunate to participate in two times. Um, she does granola, and she did that for a couple of months. That I was like, oh Lord, that was so tasty. She's also a fellow tree drinker. She sends me chocolate, and we will be trying this chocolate later. But for now,
Nom nom.
this is a wonderful soul from the 19th century. Tell us a little bit about yourself so that people can get to know you, because you sent me the intro, but I want you to talk about you.
Yeah. So let's see. I can explain myself to JD's audience, several of whom I know, by relating to the various series that he keeps juggling up in the air. So how about that? So we do the T-actionary, we do the sky thoughts. I do a lot of thinking and brooding. I don't do taste tests on my channel, but I do recipes. So you're going to see me taste my own recipes rather than a processed product today.
Well,
um,
you bought me this processed product.
well, some processed products are good. I've got my ruts now, so like I don't stray from them too often.
Yeah.
Um, I don't do double O bananas because I'd have to be silent, so that's not going to work for me. What else do we have? We have sock it to me, and unfortunately, right now, I'm not wearing socks, but I got
I,
moccasins, so upgrade.
I, I am rocking Go Indie Now socks just
Nice.
because I love Joe Compton. I love indie people, clearly.
Did I miss any?
Thinking.
Is there any more
Well,
pun
well,
ones?
we do
'Cause I
say
will join
cheers.
you in whatever pun you care to go down, because puns are my jam. We like
Uh,
the puns.
those are the visual typos. The visual typos are on
Hmm,
Monday. Um,
that's right.
and I've been archiving all of my visual typos. I've done a few, so I'm gonna be repurposing those and sharing
Yeah.
them on my Substack.
Nice. Nice. No, Substacks are good. So I could imagine you making like if you had an individual shot of all the graphics with the visual typos and you made like one of those posters of individual photos that has like the, shadow and light of something, that'd be pretty cool. I have a similar collection of about 4 years worth of pictures of letters that I've sent for Patreon. So I take pictures of the postcards and just as sort of like proof that I did I did send them. And I've had a bunch of those over the years and I keep thinking I should do a collage or something with these and then I never know what has enough oomph to make it worth it. So
If
we'll see.
you enjoy it, that's enough oomph. People ask me, "Oh, how do you decide to do stuff?" And I'm like, "I'm winging it. Anything else? No, I'm winging it. That's about
Yeah.
it. And if I enjoy it and I have fun, that is reason enough to do it."
Yes. I watched a tag yesterday. So I do booktube and authortube. And I watched a fellow booktuber who has a tag. He's also an author tuber, but it doesn't talk about it as much. He's also a music person. So I don't know if you know Gareth. He's at Book Songs and Other
Yeah.
Magic. Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
I've dabbled in Gareth in the
Yes.
sense that I've seen it on your channel and some of
All
our
right.
mutuals, but I've never been in touch with Gareth, I think.
Okay.
But anything's
He's
possible.
a late night, like late jam, like cartoons. He does a lot of things that like overlap. So it's funny. But yeah, he had a tag, I think today, that asked something about which area of books would you be confident about, you know, what's it called when you wax lyrical on the subject, when you pontificate,
Right.
that's what I'm looking for. And he was like, well, probably sci-fi and cartoons and like a couple other things. And I was like, oh wow, about books. What's your like, you have so many different genres of books that you've tried authoring. So if you were gonna wax philosophical or lyrical or pontificate or whatever about a type of book, which would you be most confident in?
It depends who I'm talking to. The thing is that if you see what I listen to, if you see what I
Relativity.
write, if you see what I read, I think I would actually go to middle grade, because if I'm and it's not the one that I've written the most, but or is it? I'm not sure. If I'm ever in a reading slump or a writing slump or something, middle grade kicks me into gear. Middle grade poetry and stuff like that. But I feel comfortable with that, just because since I'm in my 40s, people go like, why do you read middle grade? And I'm like, first off, why do I need a reason? Second off, chill. Third off, grow up and allow yourself to be a kid.
Yeah.
Growing up, my grandfather, he was one of my best friends, and in his 70s, he would watch Popeye, and he taught me Popeye, Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry, all the classics, and he would just crack up laughing,
Yeah.
and I learned, dude, be a kid.
That is a gift for sure. I was like, I definitely have one fandom down that I can talk about, and that is the one that is on the back of this spoon, which helped me make the recipes today. I don't know if you could see it, but I'm sharing it with everyone. It's called The One Spoon to Rule Them All. And if you could see the font, because I'm a huge nerd, for the LOTR. Yay!
Yeah, you're a nerd for that, but you can lay some serious smackdown with that spoon. It's like, dude.
Well, I could do that too. Slipper, spoon, lots of different cultures represented here.
I'm not gonna put you on the spot, but give some thought on the Tolkien name of that spoon, Mithrandir. Well, that's
Goodness. I don't know the
actually
language.
Gandalf. But just make it up. I'm not asking you to do something proper. I'm asking you to just wing it.
Glyffindorian. There you go.
There you go.
From the Sindarin.
I want to see you with a picture with a spoon, and I want that stylized on Canva, the free version somehow.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Funny.
And anyways, we're gonna be waffling. Obviously, this is gonna go off the rails. But before that, or let's strew in questions throughout.
Yeah.
So you predominantly write historical fiction.
Correct.
Apart from being a glutton for punishment, because every time that I have a conversation with someone that writes in this genre, I find it fascinating, but I find it intimidating, because I know that there are some people that are miserable until they tell someone that they did something wrong. And historical fiction is ripe to find that type of asshole that just needs to say, well, actually, that was in 1826, not in 1832. And it's like, dude, okay, you're right.
Yes.
So,
yeah. I do mess with a few dates, but I explain why in the author's note. So in the back, I have a pretty solid author's note about how I wanted to make the story about a certain person's journey, and in order to take certain elements of that history and make them part of her journey, I had to like move some things about a year, and it's a publication date of something. So, yeah, and someone's trip to the islands. In fact,
okay,
in your neck of the woods. Um, so
When you say my neck of the woods, the Caribbean is pretty vast. Which island?
Jamaica, I believe.
Okay.
The
Jamaica
West
Me Crazy.
Indies.
There's a restaurant called Jamaica Me Crazy, and there's a couple of people that have used it in their own punny pun ways. Um, the question was, what draws you to the genre? Because the thing is that yes, it's intimidating. It's a lot of work, etc. But every time that I ask that question, I get a very different answer. So, what draws you to historical fiction?
Um, I have a long answer. I don't give short answers, I guess. Long answer being, um, long answer being because I struggle to find ways to advocate and express myself in certain ways in my own life. I feel safer mining the past for examples that give courage and model ways um, to be a
Mm,
person of conviction. And so when I'm writing things, I'm looking for examples in the past that can inspire me and others today in situations that feel overwhelming and unfair and unjust and just like crushing, right? Soul crushing. And so if you're in one of those situations, or there's a range, there's a spectrum. If you're anywhere along that spectrum of feeling a certain kind of way, I think there's lots of examples from the past that can give us inspiration. And so I want to find them and bring them to the light and hopefully, give someone oh, what about when they did this? And I could see myself, writing that into the sunset or whatever, what have you. So yeah, that's the
well,
longer answer.
but the amount of stories that when you hear from people way back when, and the things that the documentation was proper in the terms that in terms that there were letters, or there was proper documentation, not just a damn selfie. It's like, so you went on a trip. Okay, what did you write about it, or how did you capture it? Oh my god, a selfie. And it's like, dude, anything else? How was the trip? It was fire. Okay, how was the trip? Express yourself using words,
Yeah.
please.
Are you
Um,
are you a fan of Airbender? The
I've seen one episode of
the original,
uh,
the last.
yeah, Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Okay.
I've seen one episode, and that's just me saying I don't know why I haven't continued with it, because I thought the writing was spectacular, the voice acting was great, the artwork was great, and it's just something that I just didn't continue watching for whatever reason. And it's very rare that I find something I go like, damn, that's really good, and not stick to it. But that's
Okay.
me.
So I just saw an author who was talking about the person who was in charge of every written piece in the Last Airbender, the original, not the whatever Americans have maladapted. She said there's a master calligrapher who did all of those things in um, the animation, and so everything means something. None of it is just like, you know, artistic nonsense. Like we tend to not be able to tell what it is in the West. And
Well,
I was very impressed. So she said, "This is a signed selfie." And it's a historical, right? Historical China. This is like basically a signed selfie from a guy to his dad. He says, "I'll see you when we're successful," or something. And I was like, it's hilarious. So, yeah, selfie.
that's
It's the new way, maybe. I don't know.
well. If you see, I'm not going to say new movies or old movies, etc. In movies in general, there are a lot of Easter eggs that people hide, and from including a poster of an upcoming movie in the background, to a love message to someone that they know, to including a hate message to someone that they know. Easter eggs are there, and I love that. And to know that they did that in The Last Airbender makes me want to watch it more, but with a keen eye.
Yeah.
We recently finished Gravity Falls, which is an animated show that is available on Disney Plus, and it's a kids show, but it first off, it has some proper nightmare fueled moments.
Okay.
Second off, I think it is the most or one of the best time travel sequence that I've seen in a series, because I watched it and I was like, whoa, what the hell? And the person who recommended me the show, I was like, hey, I noticed this. And they were like, dude, you got to watch it again. And I'm like,
Uh,
okay. And he's like, watch this episode and then watch this episode and prepare to have your mind blown. And I'm like, okay. So
okay.
I love those little details.
Yeah.
And I like that reason for you to be drawn to historical fiction or literature in general. Um, so the follow-up question is, what are some of the challenges that you find? Because again, everyone finds different challenges, and for one person, the challenge was focus.
Mm.
Um, but for other people, they are more nuanced, and it's a genre that I see at a distance, and I go like, that looks interesting, but not yet. I'll write a western before I do a historical fiction book, just because, and that probably guarantees that I'll dream up an idea for a story and go like, damn, I should start that tomorrow.
Exactly.
Anyways,
So what's the problem?
challenges, new, old, something that you find for every project, something that you find for particular projects, challenges.
Um, I would say early on and lingering still is the challenge of feeling like I have the authority to write about something, because I feel like many
Mm,
people write about history like, you're serious and you have a degree in this and you've been to the archives and whatever. And so there's a little bit of imposter syndrome with that, especially when I was starting. And then I was luckily just sort of gaily tripping through and thinking, this is just an experiment for the first one. And so that's how I got past it. um, let's see. Lately, I would say it's not focus. We were having this conversation about how many ideas is too many ideas. And you should have been in that conversation yesterday. A lot of people were having hilarious answers for this on Breaking the Block on writer Sam Wicker's channel. But I don't tend to get distracted with a lot of ideas. If I had another genre I would want to write, it would be romance, because I love reading it and I love like the escapism and the feel good and the like finding people's happy ever afters, right? But every time I go to think of a storyline that would be compelling, I'm like, done before, don't know where that would go. Like, I don't have the same, like, what could possibly happen in this, corner of history kind of excitement of the unknown. It's just kind of like, how am I going to make up something, contemporary? So,
um,
I could do historical romance, but yeah, so I'm not tempted by other genres yet. So that's why it's not a challenge to stay in historical.
okay. Now, I'm always tempted by other genres, and in terms of writing something current and relevant, etc., I am working on the outline of something set in an ad agency, and I've worked in several ad agencies, and you meet such bizarre people that there's just no way that eventually you're not going to say like, I should write a book.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I just mash them up, JD. So I don't go to different genres. I have a historical mystery. I have a historical YA. I have historical fiction straight. I've got historical fantasy. If I want to do
Okay,
something else, I just combine it.
would you ever do a historical comedy?
Uh,
And I say that because the ad agency book that I just mentioned, I'm going to write comedy, and I think that is one of the most challenging ones because you can write something interesting. Writing something that will make people laugh, harder.
yeah. No, I'm reading a really good. I don't know if I'm not finished with it, so I don't know if I could call it a comedy. But I'm reading an arc of a historical queer love story. I'm not sure what it will turn out to be, but there's lots of humor in that because of the narrative, the narrator voice, and the omnipotent narrator, and how things are sort of being dealt with very sarcastically, and like it's very unique and I think funny. But like I don't have the discipline to be that cold and sarcastic as a through line. Like
Hmm.
I always need some like heartwarming and some some genuine feels and some like reaching out and connecting kind of thing. So it would always be broken up by that. So if I went for that style, I don't think I could do it. Another kind of comedy that was more like, what would you have? Like physical comedy?
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know the field very well. So
No. For me, I would write. This would probably the book that I get canceled for, and would be an R-rated film from the '90s. That's the type of
what?
vibe that's the type of vibe I'm going for.
Okay.
Um, I
Explain.
again, you okay? Explain. You meet some crazy ass people in advertising. You experience crazy ass things in advertising. You do crazy ass things in advertising. Period. Working 15, 16, 17-hour days and then going home, showering, and coming back to present. That's happened. Um, Having someone want to tank an entire campaign that you've been working on the entire week just because they had a gut feeling, so that you would have to rework everything in about 5 hours time. I've had to do that. Um, and that's just two examples of work stuff that are insane. Uh, Having to give you one real life example. So we prepared
How
a
is this?
campaign.
How do you turn this into gory rated R 90s? That's the connection
No,
where
no,
I
no,
was
no,
like,
no. But
okay, okay, go
comedy.
ahead.
But comedy.
Comedy as well.
No, but this would be the comedy. And when I say gory, I just mean, and I just when I say cancelable, I just mean something that would be so inappropriate. And
Okay.
I've seen and I've experienced and I've witnessed and I've been privy to so many inappropriate things that you would be amazed. I got offered cocaine in the weirdest places. And we went on, like, a company field trip, and someone was like, "Hey, buddy," they were in the
Oh,
backseat.
wow.
"Hey, buddy, do you want a bump?" And I'm like,
What?
what's wrong with
Yeah,
you, dude?
yeah.
And that's the type of stuff. Man, I'm kind of stuck with this concept. I'm gonna drop acid. I'll be back in half an hour. What?
It sounds like
Um,
finance bro world.
it
Like,
is. It is. It is. It is. And I came into this in a very tame time compared to the 80s and 90s. The 80s and 90s, the
uh,
level of excess in advertising was bonkers. And the stories that I've heard, that it's like, evenings dedicated to Bacchus. It's like, what is this? It's
wow.
like, so how did you guys celebrate getting this account? Oh, we had an orgy. What? I heard this from someone. I'm not gonna say the country, the agency. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna even nothing to identify this person, but the way that they celebrated their company acquiring an account to perform to do projects was to have an orgy. Insane.
See
But
if the
that is
account's like that.
no. It was just a big money account. The account had nothing to do in terms of product, in terms of personality, tone, or anything
Hmm.
for you to say, like, okay, let's everyone have sex. It's, oh, if you got Durex, maybe just to prove that the product works, or Trojan or something. Who
Yeah.
knows? Maybe people did that. I do not know. I can't speak to those accounts, and I won't mention this account. I will just say that people in a period of time in some country, after winning an account that was a multi-million-dollar account, celebrated by having an orgy. I don't know. It was like 10 or 11 people. And I'm like, yeah, man, it was a good times. And I was like, what the I don't even know how to react to that.
Yeah.
And that's just a story. And I was able to, I can't say that I fact checked it, but I was able to ask someone else, and their reaction. I was like, dude, I heard that 10 years ago. These people won this account, this happened. And they were like, nah. And I was like, I got you. I
Oh, wow.
got you. Because your mouth said no, but your face and your entire demeanor said, the
Yeah.
people shouldn't know this.
Yeah.
Anyways, so And I haven't watched Mad Men, and people are like, "Why haven't you watched Mad Men?" And I'm like, I've lived through this. It's like, oh, you have to watch Marley and Me, and I'm like, we've had 8 dogs that have passed away. I don't need to see this in a movie, dude.
Yeah.
So it's the
I would
same.
watch Mad Men for the costumes and also like the soap opera drama that gets you through it. But
No, I've heard about the writing, and when someone says that the writing in general is very solid, very consistent, I'm drawn in. So that's one that I want to watch when I'm emotionally capable of. West Wing is one that I want to watch when I'm emotionally capable to watch that, and so on
yeah,
and so forth. There are Breaking Bad. I want to see Breaking Bad, but
I'm a no on that one.
uh, it's a hard topic. But the de-evolution of a character and how low someone can fall, I am compelled because everyone says that Bryan Cranston absolutely crushes that role. So
Yeah,
I am drawn to it because of that aspect. I
yeah,
am drawn to humanity and the expressions of different things about our humanity and to the lengths and to where humanity can reach. And I would be interested in that, but I'm watching a lot of light stuff. It's like, what are you watching in the evenings? I'm watching Fail Army and dog videos. That's where I'm at right now, and cartoons. Those are the 3 things that I'm watching. Um, but it is what it is. And this was all over the place. So let me ask you something that is all over the place too. We've been writing. I'm not sure the exact same amount of time. When did you publish your first book?
2013.
So we've been at this at roughly the same time. And I do feel like there's been an ebb and flow in terms of when you have been prolific and when you have been publishing or not.
Mm.
You've done that. You've done Patreon. You've tried different things on Patreon. You did the Author Tube Writing Conference. You've done karaoke, and that's a lot of fun. But when I try to understand your trajectory, it definitely feels like it's not monochromatic. It's not a scale line. It's nothing conventional or typical. Um, and when you find something that interests you, you go like, I'm gonna go hard, and I love that. I love that. So, can you speak about some of your interests in random stuff and how you weave it into your writer platform, author platform, or whatever you want to call it? And how have you evolved as a writer and a creator? So I just gave you 2 multifaceted, super dense questions for you to answer however you want.
I'm gonna okay. So before this interview, I was feeling like really gummy, stretchy string cheese, just like pulling at all my attention like this, right? So I'm gonna try to hold on to all those threads with that question and try to address at least a few of them. So I neglected to mention what I do on my channel besides it does booktube, it does authortube. So here's how
Mm,
I would sum up in answering that question. My booktube channel, my YouTube channel, is the most active of any platform for my author brand as Margaret Pinard. And I am on here 2 times a week, usually. I do a Sunday stream every week. I do a Wednesday stream every other week for wrap ups. And I do a first Friday and a final Friday for productivity. So that gives me like 3 buckets of categories where I try to be consistently making progress or updating people on various points of the author, the reader, the I don't know what you want to call me.
the
the
creator, the creator.
human creator. There we go. Human ectoplasm is what came to mind. I don't know. Um,
Egon would be proud.
yeah. So like I've done this long enough. This is year 5 on YouTube that like now I have it's evolving, but I have like 4 categories I try to hit on each Sunday stream. One is an author related one. So either an update or a reveal or a, skill thing. A readathon related. So like talk about readathons that I'm interested in. Basically those are um justice themed or next month's is Irish readathon. So, I'm in costume. Um So author readathon, TRC is the thing for this year. So I'm using the Truth and Reconciliation Commissions to talk about climate change stuff. And you can check out my channel for more on that if you're curious. I'm loving to get feedback and people coming on to talk about how they feel on that. And what is the last one? A tag, since we love tags, because they just have us share about ourselves and make ourselves vulnerable on the internet. So in each of those different ways, I'm trying to learn about myself and share myself as a creator, and hopefully some of those, those fishing lines pick up other people that feel the same ways and are anxious to make a community along the same lines. So that's what that's all about. And that's like a good chunk of the author energy. I'm gearing up to draft in March. So we're going to be focused more on drafting in March and not as much on author series and stuff. So, yeah.
That is interesting. And you are super active. I used to be way back when. I used to be a lot more active, and then blessed you. And then after Hurricane Maria, I did the Hurricane Maria tag, and I saw some people do it just to get traction because it was popular or because it was the in theme,
Right.
and it was just
that would make you feel sort of way. Yeah.
No,
yeah.
It was so disheartening on so many levels, and so frustrating that I almost quit YouTube. And I'm happy I didn't, because if I would have quit near that, we wouldn't have met, we wouldn't have connected.
Yeah.
Wow. And I'm actually not sure how we connected, because when you try to re-engineer or reverse engineer how the hell we met, it's like, was it on Instagram? Was it on YouTube? Where the hell was it? And I honestly don't know, because we've connected in so many places. And the thing is that how we connect on Instagram is different on how we used to connect on Twitter, and it's different on how we connect on YouTube, and so on and so forth. Which I appreciate, because some people are like one note, and it's like the same shit across channels, and they just reshare. You definitely flex different muscles. You try to do your own thing on each platform, and that's part of why I am a fan. Not just because you're good people, but because you're interesting in different ways. And I go like, okay, what the hell is she doing now? And I go like, what the hell is that? And I'm watching, and I go like, I did not know that. And
oh, have you ever been an observer when I'm commenting on some of Christy's posts? Because she's still doing a great job on her Facebook group, and a lot of it is, artifacts and costumes and things from the 19th century. And we'll get into these like little tidbits of I don't know, lore. It's awesome. When
you guys go at it about historical stuff, I'm like a fly on the wall eating popcorn. I'm like, it is interesting, just because you see two people definitely going at a topic full force. It's like, I want to know what you know, and I want to share what I know. So let's do it. And it's like, let's do it. And for me, that's the beauty of social media when it does work. Not the whole noise, not the whole no, not the I stand for whatever, not the whole performative shit. Yeah. I like it when people connect, and when two friends of mine connect, I like to see it, just because it also helps me get to know both of you better. And it's not stuff that I would have thought to ask. And for me, that's the positive aspect of this social experiment called social media. And when you're having fun and when you're genuinely interested in something, I'm a hell of a lot more drawn to that than someone saying, hey, buy my book. Did you know that my book has this? Guess what my book has? This. If you like this and you like that, you might like my book. And it's like, dude, not a fan. I'm not a fan, and that works for some people, and power to them, because it does work for them. And I see that they get like 1,000 likes, and I go like, How does something that lame get that much traction? And I think it's just this army of bots saying, yes, we must feed the algorithm. And I'm just not a fan. I like human connection, and I like people who connect genuinely. And you have always connected genuinely, hence the question about the creating and the whole stuff like that.
Yeah. Evolving. I have a question actually about that. So when we say evolving as people in our 40s who have been creating for over a decade, um, I feel like we continue to say, yeah, I don't care about that anymore. Yep, past that point. Yep, not bothering to do that anymore. Like, give no Fs, right?
Yeah.
And then you realize, no, you still do. You're still doing things. And like, you keep getting rid of stuff. And you're like, how much stuff do I care about? Where's the end of this road? You have
Um,
anything to say on that? Or like, I don't know, maybe you can observe from other vantage points. Like, I say
the
that, and
the
then I really do.
the things that I keep doing, it's because I'm still interested in. I still find them challenging, and I find it a proper investment of time. And if it feels like a good investment of time, I'm gonna do it.
Hmm.
I don't care if it gets 10 likes or 15 likes. I still enjoy doing visual typos just because I'm giggling like a little schoolboy while I'm doing this crappy ass artwork based off a typo that I thought of. And it came because I'm in the shower and I go like, that would be funny. And
Yeah.
acting upon that impulse. When I try to promote books, I try to do it in a creative way. I don't overdo it just because I'm not into it. I'm not doing YouTube as much as I used to because I hit it really hard. And then it got to a point where you had to invest so much time to first off get traction and to not feel guilty, man.
Mm.
That was something that I had to deal with. That it's just like, this person watched my video. Let me go watch three of theirs, and stuff like that. And I always felt like I wanted people to know that I cared about their content and what I did and what they were doing. And it got to a point where it's just a bit much because I know so many people,
Yeah.
and I care. I still care. I just can't. So, in terms of evolving, it's what's a responsible use of time and energy. And also, it's not like I've stopped writing, and it's not like I haven't released a book every year for the last 10 years.
At least.
Um, exactly. And it's something that I'm hell bent and I'm stubborn for that. And I always say that you have to be stubborn for the good things. And the good things that so you look at the playing field. So what are the good things? The books are the good things. The visual typos are the good things just because I get a crack out of it. And sometimes people get a crack out of those as well. I do the taste test because I am morbidly curious about how something tastes. It is part of my research for writing stuff just because I was fascinated with Willy Wonka, among other things. And I love sharing experiences. And when I try something that is awesome or awful, um, and there's something that I tried that was not good. That was not good. I'm gonna show you. Eventually I'll share the taste test. But those are
There's a winner.
sensational. Those are
Yes, those are gone. I just kept the package so that I could decorate something with it.
no, those are sensational. But this
Oh my God.
durian is weird, and
Yes.
and I've had jackfruit. Jackfruit is delicious, and I've had it
Yep.
several ways.
Yep.
Um, and in Puerto Rico, there's breadfruit, which is called pana. And I've had different dishes with pana. Those are great. This is weird, and you can't fly with like real,
Yeah.
like a durian. You can't fly with it on. I don't know
Yeah.
if it's in Thailand or Malaysia or China. You can't because the stench is
Oh,
impressive.
yeah. No, I
I can.
have secondhand experience of that because my mom was a Peace Corps volunteer in the Philippines, so she has got tales of durian for sure. I've absorbed those.
Well, I think is it if she was in the Philippines, is it balo? The they take an egg that already has a chick in it, and they bury it and they ferment it and they eat
No, I don't like where that is going. Does that have anything to do with durian?
in terms of stench. Apparently they're both awful. um
Okay,
that that is what it is.
so that is a weird one. All right.
Okay, let's bring it back. Let's bring it back and talk about your book. This is where we're here, and we've strayed for 40 minutes, and that is par for the course. If you're here and you weren't expecting this, what the hell are you doing here?
Yeah.
No.
Howdy,
Okay.
first timer.
Okay, and I love just doing random stuff. So the name Orla, I am a fan of it because of the show Dairy Girls.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and that show is, oh god, they're awful in the best way possible. It is a lot of fun. So what was the inspiration for Orla Rafferty, and what about the 1830s in the UK drew you in? Because those are two like very specific things. The name Orla, because sometimes we just see a name and we go like, you shall be part of my pantheon of stuff that I write. And then the 1830s because you're a historical writer. So those
Yeah.
two things.
Yeah. So the 1830s in the UK came first. I was actually thinking of doing Gilded Age book, and I struggled and struggled, and I was setting it around the Chicago World's Fair in 1893, and I wanted to, make some of the same themes relevant to the reader, but I couldn't figure out the ending because of how I had set it up, and so I put it aside for a long time. And when I finally came back, I was like, what if I go back to like the original reform of the British Empire, which was in the 1830s. And then I can play with 1829 is Catholic emancipation, where it wasn't a crime to be Catholic anymore. I can play with 1832 when like the voting rights were expanded about 15%. So a tiny little drop, and you're going to thank us for it. I can play with 1834, like emancipation, not just the stop of the slave trade, but the actual emancipation of Black folks in the empire, and of course reparations to the wrong people. But we'll deal with that later. So all these things happened in that one decade, and like Chartism really captivated my attention, which is lots and lots of working class folks and some middle class folks getting together to say we want these 6 points, and here it is in our kind of like a Magna Carta, and we want Parliament to run with this. And they had millions of signatures and never got it done. But in like the 60 or so years that followed their decade of efforts, every one of those points but one was arrived at in a different way because of the initial effort expended. So I feel like it wasn't wasted. So anyway, that time period, and I'm choosing several different locations. I sort of arrived at the family connection. So Remnants is a family saga. If anyone has read it, you can share your feelings in the comments. But it's basically like the mother and older children, and then the next older children, and then the younger children, they're sort of fist fights with fate, right? And so instead of like a generational going down the ladder, for this one, I'm thinking it's the same generation, but it's people who don't know each other yet because they've been flung to the four winds. So we have 3 different stories that I am imagining. The first one is in Glasgow, and we meet another person who's going to be the star of the second book. And what I wanted was to give more of a feeling of like some more of my people, my Irish people in these books, because I've been setting them in Scotland. And big thing that happened in the 1830s and 40s, where a lot of Irish people came over to Scotland for some reason, and America and Canada. But yeah, so I wanted to sort of connect and get a little diaspora action going there. And Orla is an Irish name. And I didn't just land on Orla. I was combing through. I have several books. I have a whole
Don't injure yourself.
It's just a little sticky, but I have a whole thing of my like Celtic history, and I can pull out like stuff about tartan and go through all like the different tartans and family histories, which are very condensed, or like names book or poems or just stuff to like refresh that sort of touchstone. And so I was going through one of those and I found Orla and I was like, I want a vowel name. I want something that's, you know, relatable, but like totally not totally foreign. I do that for my tertiary characters, but yeah, rolls off the tongue, feels homey, and that just fit the bill. So she was something else altogether, and then I had to change every single time I came across the name, kind of late in the process. So yeah, Orla.
Okay. And they have our characters do have a mind of their own sometimes, and it's like, dude, and they're like, yeah, this is what's gonna happen, and this is my name, and it's like, okay, I'm not gonna. It's gonna be a losing battle. I'm not gonna fight it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've written quite a few books. Did the writing process for this book and this series vary much, or was it just Margaret being Margaret?
Oh, Margaret's always Margaret, but let's see. It didn't feel as uh some of my books, I was in a pattern for a while where I was like, one felt like, okay, got off the assembly line, went through the process, editing, done. Bing, like oven ding, right? And then the next one would be like, oh my God, what's wrong? And like raking over it again and again, changing the ending, changing the names, feeling frustrated. And then the next one would be fine. And that happened like 3 times. And finally, this one, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this book. Is it a little undercooked? I don't know. I'm going to give it to my editor. And I just sort of, vaya con Dios. I did that. And that is my experiment with this book. So now that it's the beginning of a series and all of those experimental choices now have to be woven in with 2 other books in the series, I don't think I'll regret that choice. I think I planned out enough.
Okay, but for your editor for you to have the book, then it wasn't undercooked.
But like satisfying levels, like do we get enough
Hmm.
of the redemption? Do we get enough of the plot action? Is there pacing stuff?
I think that's a question that eventually you answer. I've with Given to Fly, which is my middle grade book, I had someone that told me you should have just started it in chapter 3 because that's when the action starts. And I'm like, I needed the backstory. And there's another person that said, I can't believe you didn't do this. And I'm like, that is the point. So,
So close. So close to the point.
so, so what can I say except that what you want is exactly what I didn't want to give you because I wanted you to do that. And they're like, and I'm like, it's not like I can't write it. What they were asking for, and it's, oh, good, we have to tiptoe around these spoilers. Um, but yeah, it is what it is. Eventually, I'm pending to reread my entire human cycle just to put to bed some of my fears about the series. And what can I say? I've been finishing series to see how I feel about those. So I read the City of Ember series, and I would like to have words with the author. I read his Dark Materials. I would like some words with the author.
Really?
Oh
You don't
yeah,
like when
because
people finish their series?
those two series, their first book is sensational.
Mm,
Particularly his Dark Materials with the Golden Compass or
yeah.
Northern Lights. It's sensational. The second book is a shit show. Where I go like everything that I liked from the first book, you do not bring into the second book, and you bring me another character, and you just go on a tangent, and it's just weird, and meh. And the writing in the second book was so lame on occasions. It's like, and then he died, and I'm like, one of the most important characters in the series,
Yeah.
one of the most memorable characters that I was extremely fond of, passes away. And you don't even have the decency to try to use more syllables and you just say, he died.
I
I
only
will,
read that far, so maybe I got to that point, like blocked it out because I don't remember.
No, and I finished it, and I have thoughts on the third book as well. I did a recap of I think I did a recap of both those series just because I needed to shit on it. And reading those series gave me some peace of mind. So eventually, I think you're going to get some peace of mind when time passes and you reread it and find three typos that no one saw, and you're going to go like ah, but you're going to read it and enjoy it.
Yeah. I think, and I haven't fact checked this, but for Herkyed, do you know about this? The hardest reading challenge you'll ever do? Stephanie at QWordy, the channel is called QWordy. She is running this channel challenge since July. A lot of people have joined it, and it's like a buttload of prompts, like a lot. And I'm realizing that like one of the things I almost never do is finish a series. So maybe like 5 in my life.
No, you should do it just as
So
as a
I have to complete a series for this challenge, and I had to find one that would fit but not challenge me too much, you know.
no.
So
I
that's the
put
one.
no, and that's happened to me before. But I pushed to finish the series just because I needed. I stressed so much for book three that I just needed some peace of mind. I was like, oh God, and then I read those and I was like, this is bull. What? I'm fine. I'm. I might have missed a thing. Maybe
Series
I
are hard. I think that's the lesson, right?
series are hard, but
Yeah.
seeing what these highly successful series achieved in terms of sales, but didn't achieve in terms of storytelling, brings me peace. I went like, okay, dude, okay, so your first book is sensational and absolutely buries me under 20,000 pounds of awesomeness. Okay, my series is better than yours in terms of just being consistent, in terms of not sucking,
Okay.
in terms of being true to what the first book is, because
Yeah.
I do feel a tone shift, and particularly in historic materials, a huge tone shift in books two and three that I was like, what the hell happened, dude? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, tis that time. To
Oh, it's taste
taste.
test time.
It taste
Okay.
test time. Because I do have taste test related questions.
Okay.
I'm a foodie. I love to try new things. Um,
Are we gonna have the sounds of mastication on camera live?
I do. That's if you've been on this channel, if you've seen me on Instagram, I chew. I don't care. If you want to mute, you are allowed to mute. There is no. You started with a brownie, but I can't. I'm not. I can't read the reaction. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it different? Is it just rich?
Very ooey gooey.
Which is what a brownie should be, and what they failed to do in the British Bake Off in the episode that they did brownies.
And it's like dark. It's got like 5 ingredients. It's a very different recipe from my usual.
Okay, 5 ingredients. So sugar, eggs, cocoa.
Sugar,
Uh,
eggs, cocoa, butter, walnuts.
no flour. It's flourless. So that's why it's so rich. I can't read that.
Flourless walnut brownies.
Ah,
I don't think they're supposed to look like, but and a little bit of salt in there too. So maybe 5, 6 ingredients.
okay.
It's got it's a whole cup of cocoa powder, which I don't think I've ever put in anything. And I cheated a little lower, but it's a really dark chocolate, rich. So
That
yeah,
made you cough.
pretty cool.
That's how rich it is. Okay.
Yeah,
You have that, and you also had the cookies were?
cookies are from the same cookbook. They're called um, they're called low maintenance oatmeal cookies. And when I woke up this morning, I was seeing what I could do. And they're
Okay.
three ingredients. Let's see. What was the thing that made me want to do it? If there was ever a cookie meant to be paired with coffee and called breakfast, this is it.
Okay.
Anyway, it seemed really easy. Rolled oats, light brown sugar, salt, and tahini. So instead of butter, you're using
It-
a different nut butter, which is like
Yeah.
sesame seed butter
Yeah.
ish. Sesame seed, something else.
Yeah.
And there are 2 left of these.
And you've tried them. You told me that they were good, but they were very grainy. But
No, I don't think so.
that's a meal replacement.
No, I mean, they're not. They're like,
It looks rich. Okay, so for me, this is from Seattle Chocolate. This is Camper S'mores milk chocolate bar with graham crackers. 10% net profits donated to girls and women. This is women owned. Yay, women. I love women. We need more strong women. And
I'm working on it. I'm doing this thing called a face pull, and I'm supposedly getting like muscles here because of it. It's a really weird, awkward motion for me, but yeah.
okay. So normally I have gone to the dark side, and I've done a lot more dark chocolate, but I do enjoy milk chocolate from time to time. So
The s'mores. Nostalgia.
I don't know if I get s'mores from it though.
Hmm.
Milk chocolate's good, and I do get the graham cracker. Have you ever had something that's trying to do s'mores but doesn't actually nail it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of elements to account for, so falling short is understandable. Anita says we discovered brownies in flour, apparently. I've had a flourless chocolate torte, and it's like rich and fudgy,
Mhm.
but this is just like ooey gooey. Like it should be in a s'more. It's like, so maybe I undercooked it.
So this is good, but I can't give it top marks because I can't say that I'm getting full on s'mores. I've tasted, and you actually sent me one from Hawaii that had marshmallows, and that one had, which was a Rocky Road one. That one gave me more s'mores vibes than this, which is peculiar.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Enjoy it. Obviously, it's
Oh.
milk chocolate, so it's sweeter. What I will give it, it's that it's very silky, very smooth. So if that's your type of chocolate, give this a
Seattle
go.
chocolate. There we go.
Okay. Now that
In case
we've had
anyone's
our
curious, it's from this Food 52 Big Litter recipe. Current obsession.
okay, so when researching for your work, what foods have you read that you love to try, and what have you gone like, what the hell? And I asked because since you're talking about the UK, I love sushi, and one of my favorite pieces of sushi is eel. But I've seen eel pies in the UK, and how they store eels is just barbaric and weird, and what the hell? And those eels come from the Thames, so it's like, I have a lot of issues with that. So they keep them in drawers and they're alive, and it's like, dude, what the? It's just wrong. So what dishes have
Contemporary?
you? Huh?
Is that contemporary?
They still do it.
Huh.
It's weird. Look up eel drawer
Or not. Or not.
or not. I'll do it for you because since I already did the search recently,
Oh my
because I knew we were
God.
going to be talking about that. What
Okay.
stuff have you read and researched that you were like, oh, I'd love to try that, and when have you gone like? Because Christy also shares menus and recipes that there are some things that it's like,
Yeah. Yeah. Some just don't make sense. Some defy the laws of physics, and some require more salt or sugar than anyone should be trusted with in a night. But no, so my characters are typically not very highfalutin. So it's very simple, plain fare. So it's stuff that I can recreate, usually with some, substitution of vegetables or whatnot. Some of the desserts are really fun. Like I've made a lot of desserts with oats for Scotland. Um, One of the ones I had for my launch party last month was called Flapjack. And it's not a pancake. It's actually like the closest thing they have to a granola bar, but it's like sugar and oats. And yeah, so it's yummy and it's crispy. So that's an interesting one, but it's modern. So things that I've made for the books are less glamorous, less, like snacks. They're more like stuff that you can eat 3 days in a row.
No,
Stuff
I had to
roast
share
over a
this one.
fire,
Now, check this one from Anita.
Ooh,
What the hell is an
oyster
oysters
bars.
bar? I do not know.
Oyster bars.
I
Great.
I said I was gonna show you, and wait.
Oh, you don't need to share a screen, really, really. No, there's actually a rabbit hole there because when I was looking up eels for eel pie, that's weird.
That's
What
how
I
they keep them.
discovered, what I discovered is that for 100 years or more, people, raised, slaughtered, ate eels, right? They knew of their existence, but they could not figure out how they mated. They couldn't figure out how to make more of them. There were no eel farms because they couldn't figure out where they went. And the answer, I believe, I only saw like, I don't know, a month or two ago, is that they look very different. And so people were calling them something completely different, and they're halfway around the world. So it's a different language, it's a different name, it's a different look, and they're actually like a migratory species. So that's why there's a
Eels.
history. And they need like the dark under the kelp. So no one still sees them mate, but they assume that's what they're doing in the Caribbean. Their
That's
habitat is endangered, of course. So
everything's endangered.
yeah. Crazy though. Cool. Crazy cool science facts. Woohoo!
I love all that. I was watching Blue Planet and I saw how spider crabs, the way when they molt, they all have to molt so that they can grow out of their shell. The way that
Okay.
they protect themselves is that about, I don't know, 100,000 spider crabs come together, make a dome, and the ones that are underneath it all are molten so that they don't get attacked by other stuff. And it's like
Oh,
a
that
mountain.
cycle?
Yeah. And it's
Oh
like a
my gosh, that's
mountain,
cool.
of crabs just to fend off stingrays and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But a stingray is effective in dispersing spider crabs, and if they see one that has just molted, that's when they're at their most vulnerable, and they chomp them up.
Wow. That's cool.
It is what it is. Hard pivot, because I like hard pivots and keep you guessing. Friendship and the power of relationships.
Liver shot.
We're talking about boxing, and I mentioned to Margaret about what a liver shot is. If you've ever seen mixed martial arts or any contact sport, boxing and whatnot, there is something called the liver shot, which is a shot to the body, normally a hook, sometimes a straight left or right, that hits you in the liver and basically shuts down your body. People describe it as if, first off, it's the worst pain that you can experience. Second off, you're completely conscious. Third off, your legs just say, and you just fall, and your entire body goes like, "We're done for the night." It's like, no, but we have to win the fight. We're done for the night.
Your sound
Anyways.
effects are like.
Oh, it is when you're watching any contact sport. Sometimes by the sound of a punch, you know that the person's not going to get up. Particularly a body punch. If you can hear a body punch, their odds are very high that they're not going to get up, just because if they hit it in the right spot and they hit it that hard, they're screwed. Anyways, friendship and the power of relationship and the power of relationships seem to be topics that draw you in as an author. Can you talk a bit about how your own makeup, how your friends, how you deal with family, and how that features in your work?
Ooh, Easter egg time. Or are you in my book time? Time for people to ask themselves. So I never knowingly put people I know as characters in my books. But of course, like your fictional experience is an amalgamation of all the people you've met over your lifetime, right? So um when I think about a character going through a metamorphosis for a plot, I think, okay, well, they're going to have these strengths and they're going to have these challenges, and how are they going to get around them? So you give them tools, you give them relationships, you give them, I don't know, luck every once in a while, and that's how they get to their goal, right? So I feel like in the moments of histories that I've explored, and one of the reasons I said why this is inspiring to me and it's giving me courage to get out there more, is that people had to rely a lot more on each other. There was no, like dial up food delivery, whatever. It was, do you have a cup of sugar? Or, can I stay in your garden hut because my roof blew off? People dealt with each other differently. And so I like to think that that we can work with that today. And so for the last few years, I've been much more focused on internet relationships. And this year, since, I don't know, a few months ago, I've been like, no, I need to have a dual system. I need internet friends for interests and, across space and time, but also real life friends for the next earthquake or, the times we need each other, let's say. And so I've been challenging myself to get more involved with local stuff and real people in the flesh. So when I look back and I write about people who do that, it's kind of like experimenting and saying, well, what if she put herself out like that? Or what if she ran into someone like this? And then I can go, I can do that. So
You
yeah,
can, no,
modeling
you
for
can,
myself.
and if you land in the circumstances where I I'm knocking on wood, even though it's IKEA, so it's not wood. um, if you're in the situation where you need to connect with people, Hurricane Maria was a prime example of the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I've heard all sorts of stories. Let's go back to front. Ugly. I had a coworker whose her father got held up at gunpoint so that they would steal their power generator. And in their family, they had her grandmother, who was high up there in the 80s. So we're talking about stealing a generator from someone who needs it to power a fan for an old lady.
Mm-hmm.
The bad. I've spoken with doctors and medical directors who were on the island there, and the absolute chaos that ensued was the stories are very, very far-reaching and definitely brutal. Particularly speaking with nurses and the stuff that they had to live through, specifically for Maria, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Just because it's awful. The good. I know two different groups of people. One on the west side, another in the metro area, of people coming together. And it's like, I have rice. What do you have? I have beans. What do you have? I have meat. Combining, everyone eating and just chatting.
Right.
And I'm not sure if they still do it, but for several years at the very least, a really good friend of mine would have Maria Wednesdays. So every Wednesday, every week, they would meet up to share beer and just take their lawn chairs and just talk
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
spend time together. So I like that, and it's there, and it's something that, because of the convenience of online life and these remote times, we forget it. And every time that I have the opportunity to do an in-person event and see people and give them a hug and just chat, it's so enriching, just because first off, there's no log. The log is your brain. There's no record of it. The record is your brain. So you have to be present. And by being present and by being silly and being in the moment, you can enjoy stuff that's gonna last a lot longer than a tweet. I don't know. It's there, and it's something that I'm also gonna be pursuing more of, just because I need it.
Yeah.
And I am a social creature, and I shall be expressing how much of a social creature I am.
Yeah. There's two things that we think of, which is, um, like something about life being made up of just a bunch of moments and sort of evanescent things, like things that just vanish. But then also the Maya Angelou quote about people will forget what you said to them, but they will never forget how you made them feel. So if you
Precisely.
have those little moments of experiences where you're building that relationship through, they made me laugh and I made him fall off his chair and he said I had a cool jacket, and like, you don't remember these actual instances, but you remember that you made each other feel good. That's like the
Yeah.
solid thing. Yeah, go for it with
Even
it.
even being annoying can be a good thing. And I will. When I was a teen, I was rambunctious and annoying as hell. And I would
Mm.
say a
When you
phrase,
were what now?
a teen. I'm still, I'm less annoying, but I was very annoying as a teen. And um, there was a phrase that I would say constantly, constantly, constantly. The equivalent is that I don't care about it, but you would, rather than saying that you don't care for that, you would say that, oh, that brews of coffee in my sack. And I would say this, please
Oh my
take my word for it that I would say this constantly, Margaret. And when I
god!
say
Wow.
that it's constant, nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It's like Jay
there's
Silent Bob level.
Yeah,
Mm.
there's someone that I know from high school. My wife knows her. She went through something brutal, and her husband was murdered, and we were at the wake and whatnot, and she was definitely not having a good time, to put it lightly. Um, and then she studied with my wife, and we're there, and then um, she's just out of it, and then she looks up and she locks eyes with me, and she's like, "Are they still brewing coffee on your sack?" That was the first thing that she told me after 15 years that we hadn't seen each other, and she was able to laugh, and we had that moment in just one of the most brutal circumstances that I could think of, and we were able to laugh, and just because we were able to connect, we didn't write each other afterwards or anything, but at least that moment we were able
Yeah.
to connect. And I was highly embarrassed, but very thankful that I was able, because of my because of my teenage douchebaggery, I was able to give her a moment of levity in
Yeah.
such a heavy moment. And I'm not gonna say it's my proudest moment, but it was interesting. Um, so let's pull it back to writing. It's always like a
I was
rodeo.
gonna
Like,
ask if you had one of your characters use that phrase ever.
not yet.
Okay.
And that is
Okay,
the
we know it's
answer.
coming. We know it's coming. Okay, we'll
It,
spot
it,
it when we see it.
no, it's coming, but it's gonna be in a Spanish book.
Okay.
I might have an English. I might use it in English just because it's so what the hell. But in Puerto Rico, or at least for like a group of people, or like it's like a 2 or 3 year period, people
Yeah.
use that phrase, and then they let it go, and I'm still here to keep it alive.
Flame alive. I
it,
love it.
in Spanish, me hace café en la bola. I can
Yes.
write it phonetically if you ever want to use it.
Okay.
Hey, you did it great. Okay. Orla's adventure is book one in the widening gyre.
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 Like a gyroscope.
Ah. Okay. What is so is gyre? What is gyre?
A gyre, speaking of hurricanes, sorry, a gyre is like a twisting tornado like motion.
Hmm.
So you can have someone gyrating,
Okay.
or the words here come from a W.B. Yeats poem, which is the same one that a lot of stuff is taken from. Um, but the center cannot hold is what he's talking about. The imagery of it's getting whipped around faster and faster and faster. There's all this violence, all this, chaos, and the center, that is supposed to be still, cannot hold. So everything's going to break apart. So that's what I was referencing with that.
Okay. The more you know. I did not know. I did not know that word. Oh, but now I might be using it. And I will credit to you. If I use it, I'm gonna give you credit. It's like
It's a
on
good one.
page
It's a good one.
112. I use this word. Thank you, Margaret.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Okay, so the plan is three
Series.
books. So what are the plans for books 2 and 3 in terms of when you mentioned drafting?
Yes. So
So
first draft next month. So I planned out this year, and maybe you'll have a card up here that says Margaret's 5 author goals for 2025. The draft and the editing, but not the finished product until 2026.
okay.
I'm giving myself a little bit of space because there's all this other stuff going on. But
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
yeah, March is a long month. So I'm hoping that'll give me like an extra few days to get the things in, the words in.
Well, we'll see. I need to batch film and do stuff for March of the Writers, just so that I don't fall behind. And I don't want it to stress me. I want to enjoy it. I know you don't never do it because you do March of the Moderns.
No, I didn't do that last year. I finished it. I did it for 3 years, and I was like, okay, I'm done with this. So I let it go.
Okay, so what are
Just
you
like
doing this
George
March?
Orla.
So what are you doing for this March?
I'm drafting, and I'm doing the taxes for my family's business,
Yeah, you're
and I'm
good. You're
traveling.
good. In March, where are you traveling to in March?
Just California.
Okay,
We,
California.
we all we all go to the old house and do all the taxes on a table big enough to hold all the receipts. So
Oh Lord.
yeah.
Okay, so drafting, traveling, etc. In terms of in-person events, or more author events, what do you have planned for 2025, or what you want to do?
So I'm hoping I can extend this a couple more months. So if anyone wants to invite me on their channel and talk about a specific aspect of Orla, I'd love to keep the book tour going with a low-key, low-stakes interview tour. So after this, I'm going to be on Cobalt Dragon's channel. She is a gal named Elaine who lives in Canada. And she loves dragons, she loves fantasy, but she reads pretty widely and has been active in the chat for the past several months, at least how I've seen. So she's great, and I'm going to be on her channel on the 27th. And then March 13th, I'm going to be on Ven's Corner channel. He is a new booktuber from the north of England, or that's how he wants to think of it. I'm going to call him Midlands just to piss him off. So yeah, that's an area of the UK, and yeah, so he invited me on to talk, and it's going to be interesting, different aspects. Elaine might be asking me about Dulce's legacy or like some of the Canada edges, and Ben might be asking me about Memories Hostage because it starts out sort of where he lives. So we'll see. But yeah,
And they're
after
gonna
that,
fact check you.
well, no, the first book from over 10 years ago. Your time limit is done. Like, we're not even selling that anymore. You can't get a new copy. So
The statute of limitations in that book.
yes, it's been taken off the market. Everyone who gets a copy nowadays has to get it on the black market, on the used circuit. And I'm like, why are you paying $30 for a book? Like, just get the ebook. So
They
anyway,
should.
yeah.
Okay. That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Canadian. So you had a little bit of a Puerto Rican flavor, even though I'm based in Atlanta. You had some Canadian. You have some UK. I hope that you keep venturing
Yes.
and visiting people from other places. So, without further ado, tell people where can they connect with the wonderful Margaret Pinard.
Yes. Let me read. No. So I hate my website. So you can go to margaretpinard.com, but there will not be much there. I would advise you to go to patreon.com because that's where I blog when I blog. And I'm Margaret Pinard on Blue Sky. That's like the new thing. And I'm Margaret Pinard here on YouTube, which is where I am most consistently twice a week and love to chat with people. And I'm open to lots of different kinds of books. So, if ever you have suggestions, they might just end up on the piles surrounding me in my little apartment of book glory over here in Portland. So
And
yeah,
she reads randomly, people. When I say random, she prides herself in reading stuff that no one knows even exists.
eclectic. Yes, I just drafted a post, a reel for somebody for the magazine, and it's a judge who is famous in Rhode Island. And the person who I work for is in Rhode Island. And so she goes, "Oh, he's famous around here." And I was like, "A judge memoir. I just read one of those a few months ago. What is this? A new subgenre?" So I know about a Canadian judge's memoir. Yeah. Who knew? Why? I don't know. I don't know.
That is interesting. Anyways, links to Miss Pinard are below. If you're watching this afterwards, please take that like button, caress it, kiss it, do something. Throw me a bone. I'm not gonna say subscribe because if you want to, you can always subscribe. I'm just not gonna guarantee that I'm gonna be here super active because life is life. And when I have a good chance to chat with good people, I will. So Miss Pinard, buen provecho. Enjoy your brownie. Thank you so much for being here. And until next week, chat. Peace, love, and macaroons. And be kind to each other. It is challenging, but it is good. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.